California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse.
Greg Gutfeld just torched Gavin Newsom's carefully crafted political image, leaving behind nothing but smoldering ruins and slicked back hair. In a takedown so brutal it echoed through every liberal echo chamber, Gutfeld ripped apart Newsom's hypocrisy, ridiculed his policies, and left the California governor looking like a deer caught in the headlights of a primetime monologue. This wasn't just a roast, it was a full-scale political demolition. And Newsom, he never saw it coming. Buckle up, this is Gutfeld, Unleashed.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends.
It started like any other night on Gutfeld. Stage lights blazing, coffee mug in hand, and that trademark smirk curled on his face like a loaded gun, ready to fire. But this wasn't just another round of sarcastic banter or throwaway jabs. Tonight, Greg Gutfeld came armed for battle. His target, California's crown prince of coiffed politics, Gavin Newsom. Yes, the man with hair so perfect it could launch its own campaign, and a knack for turning every press conference into a Vogue cover shoot.
Took common sense as his high ground.
Right.
There's no place outside of it.
That's right.
And so they're stuck in this horrible, horrible place, much like you, Jamie, and your life. As California falls apart, it must remind you somewhat of your own personal life.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at footage of California and I go, oh, look how much better it is than my life.
If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe. That's how Gutfeld kicked it off before tearing into the walking billboard of progressive perfection. Except, of course, for the inconvenient avalanche of disasters, trailing behind Newsom like a stack of unpaid parking tickets. And Gutfeld, he didn't just mention it, he unleashed, with the fury of a late-night comic fed up with polished illusions. He tore into Newsom's pristine image like it was a worn-out Hollywood script, overhyped, dramatic, and begging for a rewrite. Let's rewind. Gavin Newsom has been coasting on that golden boy of the left rep for years.
Why do I keep bringing up Gavin? Well, other than my respect for his work in American Psycho, he's starting to distance himself from his party's worst ideas. Newsom, a guy who hates fossil fuels but could still bring down the price of gas by wringing out his hair, once proclaimed that his state would be a sanctuary to all who seek it. Then people actually came.
He smiles like he's starring in a toothpaste commercial, tosses out buzzwords like he's headlining a TED Talk, and struts around like California is his handcrafted utopia. But somewhere between the press briefings and the luxury dinners, the reality outside the governor's mansion began to unravel, and Greg Gutfeld wasn't about to let that slide. When Gutfeld took the stage that night, you could feel it. The gloves were off. No intro, no build-up, just a barrage of brutal truths, sharp enough to slice right through Newsom's bulletproof ego. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Inflate order with authoritarianism, you get chaos and destruction. So if restoring order is evil, then the Dems are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them.
Gutfeld began by peeling back the polished veneer, exposing the rot underneath. California, the state Newsom touts as a beacon of progress, now has streets that double as open-air crises. Tent cities stretch for blocks, while taxes climbed so high, Elon Musk practically sprouted wings and flew to Texas. And the crime. Gutfeld didn't even need dramatic flair. The facts were louder than any punchline. Smash and grabs turned retail stores into museums of shattered glass. Carjackings became as common as Uber rides. And somehow, amidst the chaos,
is his track record, his performance as mayor, as lieutenant governor, and governor. And your analogies are great. I think mine are better. And just hold on. And here's why. He shows up at the fires and says, who the hell caused this? I'm going to crack down on the people responsible. He sees the homeless encampments blocking the sidewalks and said, you guys clean that up. He started it. He spent $3 billion to fix it. And his opening words in 2020 when I got the job is a disgrace. The richest state in the country and the richest nation of the world has a homeless problem. I will fix it. He spends $1 billion when it's not fixed. He blames the mayors, and he also forced the movie industry and Silicon Valley out of the best state in the country by high taxes. I've never seen someone such a bad performance, but yet I think he's the front runner to get the nomination for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. They got nobody else. Sherrod, welcome back.
And yet, Newsom still found time to lecture other states, yes, other states on morality, freedom, and governance. That's when Gutfeld turned up the heat. This wasn't just hypocrisy. It was performance art, and Newsom, the overpaid actor fumbling his lines. Gutfeld painted the scene perfectly, a governor standing behind a podium, condemning Florida for so-called book bans. While students in his own state struggled to read at grade level, he wagged his finger at Texas over abortion laws, all while presiding over streets littered with fentanyl, filth, and forgotten citizens. You could almost hear the audience's laughter bubbling up as Gutfeld drove the point home. Not with outrage, but with that signature surgical sarcasm that cuts deeper than rage ever could. And then came the climax, the COVID era, Newsom's stage. His spotlight, his moment to shine.
Last week, Newsom said he hopes the conservative Supreme Court will overturn the current law that bans his state from removing out-of-control homeless encampments. Imagine that. Well, what did you expect, Gavin? That the sanctuary seekers were going to show up in Winnebagos? Once again, another example of a high-profile lib using his big mouth to write a check his ass can't cash. Last year, after the Texas Governor Abbott ordered that parents of transitioning children should face criminal investigation, Newsom then tweeted this: trans kids and their families should be celebrated, not targeted by the state. They are heroes. And so to fearful families in Texas right now, California's door is always open to you.
With a grin, Gutfeld painted the picture. California's middle class was evaporating faster than hand sanitizer in a heat wave. Small businesses were shuttering for good, while Hollywood and Silicon Valley elites popped champagne behind gated walls. And there was Gavin smiling through it all, hair perfectly in place. As if the suffering unfolding outside was just background noise for his next campaign ad. But Gutfeld wasn't just there to mock. Not this time. He had a brutal point to make. Because Newsom, for all the photo ops and polished talking points, isn't just a flawed politician. He's the face of a state people are fleeing, not out of preference, but for survival. Businesses that once proudly called the Golden State home are now scrambling for anywhere that doesn't tax them just to breathe. Even longtime residents are beginning to ask the unthinkable. How did we get here?
What do you think about Gavin Newsom? What's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know how they bump out Kamala out of VIP, put a white male in there and take her out. She's got too much of an ego to just step aside. She's going to go crazy if they try to do that.
Plus, she had a strong 2% support, so don't forget that.
Yeah, but she's waiting for that spot to just open for her, and then you put a white male in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to put. I mean, they did it to Bernie. They threw him under the bus two, presidential ones in a row. They just gave him a couple extra houses in Vermont. Go, yeah, you got some extra money. But I don't know how they could do it with her.
Yeah, it'd be great if they threw her under the bus, because she really likes buses, remember?
Gutfeld didn't miss a beat. He called out the man in charge directly, like watching a magic trick in reverse. He tore down every image Newsom had built. The fake economic growth, the empty climate promises, and the staged compassion meant only for the cameras. And just when it seemed like Gutfeld was done, he landed his biggest point, not with anger, but with clear words. He compared California to a beautiful mansion with shiny windows and perfect lawns. But inside, the walls were moldy, the foundation was cracked, and the roof leaked. It was all fake, a pretty outside hiding a broken inside. Gutfeld said California was full of catchy slogans holding up failed policies, all style, no substance. That, he claimed, is Newsom's California, a shiny disaster dressed up as progress. The audience reacted instantly. Gasps turned into laughter. Not because Gutfeld was being dramatic, but because he said what many people already believed but were afraid to say. The truth hit hard. California wasn't a shining example. It was a warning.
Used to sell maps of celebrity homes, not landmines. Now, instead of sightseeing, tourists play hopscotch so their shoes don't get hepatitis. And when residents complain, they're called cruel. And now we're supposed to believe Gavin? Hell no. All the problems of the last decade were based on his and his party's lies.
The crowd wasn't laughing at a joke. They were laughing because they recognized the truth. Gutfeld didn't need to exaggerate anything. He just said it plainly, and he said it perfectly. Somewhere, Gavin Newsom was probably smiling, sitting comfortably in a fancy hotel or behind a podium, thinking no TV host could really challenge him, but he was wrong. Gutfeld didn't just poke at Newsom's image, he tore it open and exposed what was underneath. This wasn't just about a future presidential run or political talk. Gutfeld warned that the real danger wasn't just Newsom's hypocrisy or failures, but his boldness in trying to spread those same problems across the country. The idea was chilling. If California is the testing ground, then Newsom is the reckless scientist running the experiment, and America might be his next subject.
Then came the national polling by overwhelming majorities. It turns out Americans don't favor minors transitioning. So last week, when a California law was proposed that judges in custody cases favor the parent who supports transitioning a child's new gender, Newsom killed that law quicker than a late-term abortion. Yeah, I know, huh? Now the left, being the left, was outraged, but they missed something, because now Newsom says he only vetoed it since it's already the law.
Gutfeld wasn't holding back. He ended with his signature dry humor, a small smile, a sip from his mug, and a sharp look at the camera, as if to say, "We see you, Gavin, and no amount of hair gel can fix this." What made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the jokes or the laughs, it was how sharply and clearly Gutfeld cut through the image Newsom had built. No shouting, no drama. Just cold facts, delivered with quiet sarcasm and perfect timing. He didn't need to yell to make his point. Instead, he calmly exposed the truth, painting a picture of San Francisco where tech billionaires walk past, human waste on their way to fancy dinners, and where stores close not from competition, but because crime and disorder have taken over. And with every word, the message became clear. Newsom's California isn't a success story. It's a warning sign for the rest of the country.
Ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed, and we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand. At the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
Gutfeld called out the hypocrisy with laser focus. There was Gavin Newsom, pushing for masks, lockdowns, and closing schools, churches, and small businesses, while he dined maskless at the fancy French Laundry restaurant, sipping wine with the elite, acting like the rules didn't apply to him. Gutfeld didn't need to yell, he simply highlighted how ridiculous it was, letting the audience laugh at the unfairness. The jokes hit hard because they were based on truths everyone knew but rarely said out loud. He also pointed to the growing number of people leaving California, not because it was funny, but because they were searching for a place where the government didn't treat them like the enemy. But the brilliance of Gutfeld's takedown wasn't just in the facts, it was in how effortlessly he exposed Newsom, calmly, sharply, and without even breaking a sweat.
He's the classic wolf in sheep's hair gel. Just watch him answer the tough questions.
Any other questions here?
Yes, Governor. California has a terrible homeless problem. Why do you think that is?
You know, I appreciate that question, and I think it's a matter of perspective. Let's kind of flip the script on that, okay? Let's kind of put a new lens on that. I mean, you see a homeless man, I see an outdoorsman. We got a lot of natural habitat in this state, and I'm just so proud that so many people in California can take advantage of that. All right, next question.
Gutfeld talked about a man who loves the spotlight, someone who lectures other states, builds a national image, and acts outraged on cue. But behind all the glamour, Gutfeld revealed what was really there, a polished figure with no backbone. He mocked the idea of Newsom running for president, the unspoken campaign, the ambition hiding in plain sight. The thought that a governor managing a crumbling state could take that chaos national was almost too perfect for comedy. And Gutfeld made the most of it, not with cruelty, but with sharp, clear truth. Every joke, Every pause, every look made one thing clear. This wasn't real leadership. It was a brand, and that brand was falling apart under its own lies. So yes, Gutfeld took down Gavin Newsom, not with cheap shots or angry politics, but with something more powerful. Honest truth, delivered with humor and irony. In a world full of spin and fake polish, that kind of truth hits hard. Gutfeld didn't just win that night, he crushed it. And somewhere in California, Gavin Newsom is probably still wondering what happened. The answer: reality, delivered by Greg Gutfeld.